podcast. Today we're doing it on the Nothing Phone 2A, the A probably standing for affordable, considering this is a $350 phone. But let's see if it's worth that price, all while we explore today as per the usual. But first things first. Coffee. Check. In honor of this potentially good deal of a phone, let's check out some of the good deals here in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, the neighborhood where my filming studio is. And we're starting here with Peter Pan Donuts. The famous donut spot has been around since the 1950s, and the inside probably hasn't changed too much since then either. They have the aforementioned donuts in all the varieties that you're used to seeing, like Bavarian cream, jelly, sugar, and their honey dip, their take on a glazed donut, all of which are just $1.95. Or you can grab a bacon, egg, and cheese on a bagel for $5.60, and a simple hot coffee for $1. Speaking of the design of the donut shop, let's talk about the design of the Nothing Phone 2A. Now at this point, you may be familiar with the name Teenage Engineering, as they seem to be becoming more popular in the tech world as of late. They are the design firm that helped design all of the Nothing products, including this phone, as well as the likes of the Rabbit R1 and this recorder, which is just so pretty. I mean, look at it. Anyway, you can tell their specific involvement with devices usually, and while I feel it's a bit more subtle thing here, it still has a whiff of them, for sure. And since their style is very much to my taste, that's a good thing to me. We of course also have our unmistakably nothing transparent looking design with the light up LEDs on the back called glyphs. Compared to the more expensive $600 at launch Nothing Phone 2, the glyphs on the Phone 2A can do the launched with Phone 2 feature of timer and progress feature still, and still do the same flashing for notifications that we're now used to from Nothing phones in general. You just lose the charging LED indication from the bottom on the 2A versus the 2, as well as more zones to create more intricate notifications on the 2 versus the 2A that has less. Both of which though can be made using the Glyph Creator app from the Play Store. You can also do the same things as you can with the glyphs like on the Phone 2, like flipping the phone over to silence it, stop it from vibrating, and have the LEDs be the only notifications, which you can customize for various different apps, contacts, etc. The other thing you'll notice here is the change in placement for the cameras, from the vertical dual cameras to this centered side-by-side design that you can't help but see a cute robot's face in. The screen on the Phone 2A is a 120Hz adaptive refresh display, so animations and scrolling are smoother, but it can drop down to 30Hz to save some power when things on the screen aren't moving. The Phone 2 also has an adaptive 120Hz display, but it can drop down to 1Hz to save even more power in theory. Now the screen is also bright enough to be seen outside in daylight like the Phone 2 was. They have the same HDR capabilities and resolution even. It's also IP54, same as the Nothing Phone 2, so rain is no problem, but don't submerge either of them. The back of the Phone 2A is plastic instead of glass on the Phone 2, even though it actually does a pretty good job of faking glass. You can just kind of tell more in the weight of the two phones if you had them side by side. And we also have no wireless charging on the Phone 2A compared to the Phone 2. So design-wise, some cut corners as you'd probably expect, but I have to say that in this price range, you don't really get a lot of design in the first place. So actually, it's a pleasant surprise. Greenpoint has historically been known as Little Poland, as it happens to be the second largest Polish population in the country. And this next place is one of the quintessential Polish restaurants in the hood. It's called Kerżma, which means tavern in Polish, and it's known for its white borscht soup, kielbasa, and pierogies. And for lunch, there's a special, where you can get some of that white borscht or two other soups, and a portion of that kielbasa or stuffed cabbage with those pierogies, or a few other choices as well, all for $16. And while Polish food isn't, known for being light, this definitely is the most full I think you can get in this hood for $16. Which brings us to the Nothing Phone 2A's cameras, which, at least on paper, are the same as the Nothing Phone 2. We have the same 50 megapixel Sony IMX890 1x1.56 inch sensor with 1 micron size pixels that are binned in sets of 4 to get a 12.5 megapixel image with 2 micron size pixels when done. And an ultra-wide camera, which is the same 50 megapixel Samsung JN1 1x2.76 inch with 0.64 micron size pixels that get binned in sets of 4 to get a 12.5 megapixel image with 1.28 micron size pixels when done. And we have the same 2x, which punches in on the 50 megapixel main to get a 12.5 megapixel image from the center of the sensor. It actually does a pretty decent job. Regardless of the hardware though, as we've seen time and time again, the software and tuning can make a huge difference. You let me know though which you prefer in the comments below. The lack of a dedicated telephoto camera though means that anything beyond that 2x isn't going to compete well with other more expensive phones. And the smaller sensors mean that the night shots in general will also have a hard time, but I have to say again, for the price, it's still hitting well above its weight class. Speaking of its weight class, a big difference to me between the Nothing Phone 2a and other phones in the sub $400 price range is the software. The software just looks good. It's just more in line with modern, albeit minimalistic, which some people don't like, design language. The black and white coloring on a very optimized and minimally painted look feels different enough from other Android phones without feeling cluttered, cartoony, or slowed down. You can also download the Nothing Icon Pack from the Play Store, and it'll actually take all of your icons and make them the same look to match, which my OCD is pleased by. And while that black and white look is meant to keep you from using your phone too much, as I explained in the Nothing Phone 2 real-world test, which you can check out below, it doesn't really do that for me. But again, it just looks nice. For performance, the phone feels snappy and again feels optimized, reminiscent of OnePlus back in the day, which comes as no surprise. And for most people, I feel like that's all they'll care about and all they'll really need. Lastly, on this hunt for budget things in Greenpoint, this unassuming grocery store actually has the best deal of all. The owner, Young Kim, was apparently inspired by White Manna, a simple New Jersey roadside slider place that's been around forever that he wanted to try and make a similar style small burger here as well. He hired Samantha Lamanna, a chef with a just appropriate name, no relation, to recreate them, and this is what she made. Slow-cooked garlic, Martin's potato bun, pickles, caramelized onions, a smashed burger patty, and special sauce. Small, simple, delicious. But the big kicker is that Kim is selling them for $2.15 or $2.55 with cheese. They're small, again, sliders, but that's still unheard of. Basically, Kim is selling them around or at cost, as in not making a profit on them, and using it as a loss leader to get people in the door in the hopes that they will then do their grocery shopping there from then on in the underground market beneath the burger joint. Honestly, I could eat a bag of these, easy. They're just so good, and again, you can't really beat that price. Speaking of owners, as with any Nothing launch, we have to talk a little bit about Carl Pei. I give a bigger background in the Nothing Phone 2 real-world test, again, that I'll link below, but he's sort of synonymous with the brand, and is one of the few startup founders that we have a long history of knowing him running a very similar company, so we can assume some things. Firstly, when Carl ran OnePlus before Oppo reabsorbed it into its bosom, he began that company by selling his phones at a lower cost with higher value than anyone else. It's what made OnePlus what it was, this spec-filled budget underdog. And so there's a pretty good chance that he's probably doing the same thing here, and maybe even taking losses on the phones just to gain market share, and then he can slowly raise the prices later. Again, a la OnePlus. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, especially if all you care about is deciding whether to buy the Nothing Phone 2a in this very moment, and that's it. It's just a good thing to keep in mind for the future, and probably helps explain some things. Now, as mentioned, the phone is $350 here in the States, and there's only one SKU, a 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs storage model, compared to the 8 gigs, 128 gig model, and 8 gig, 256 gig models outside the US that are presumably a tiny bit cheaper. Something weird though here in the US that I don't understand is that you can only buy the Nothing Phone 2a under a developer program. Now, there's nothing to it. You can just register your email as a developer account when you go to buy it, and then it lets you purchase the phone. But why? Is it to like pad the number of developers so it looks like there's more interest in the developer program than there really is? I mean, I doubt that from Nothing, but I don't know. Or maybe it's, some weird US restriction for selling phones that they're trying to get around. Who knows? Either way, it's a little weird. Not like nefarious, you should stay away from it weird, just odd. Now, something else to note is that other reviewers have said it works fine on AT&T and T-Mobile here in the US, but some have had some issues with Verizon. Now, I put my Verizon SIM in it, and it seems to work, for me at least, but maybe not all the bands are compatible, so you could have issues according to others. Just something to keep in mind, maybe. Which brings us to the battery life of the 5000 milliamp battery in here. So here is my screen on time and usage for anyone who's curious about that for today. Keep in mind that this is not a normal day though. It is a real world test day and I use the camera way more than you ever would. So here is another day. It was not a real world test day, so you at least have something to compare it to. Honestly, it's been solid. To the point where I haven't thought about the battery life during my day, which is the highest praise for a phone. I charge it when I'm sleeping and not think about the battery or charging till I go back to bed that night. I kind of wish that that was just how every phone worked, and not just a few of them, but I digress. Now, the fact is that I've actually been using this Nothing Phone 2a for a little under a month now, and I've not been angry about that. Normally, using a phone this cheap, when coming from a flagship phone especially, you tend to notice all the little things that you're missing, and maybe even get a little frustrated about it, but I didn't. Now that is high praise. There you guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you thought of it, what you think of the phone in the comments below. Always appreciate hearing from you guys. And if you're not subscribed, please do so and ding the bell so you get notified when I do new videos and we explore more places with more tech. As always, I will leave the best deal I can find on the phone in the description below. But right now, I'm just gonna go straight to bed from this food coma today. This was way too much food. It was great food. And it was inexpensive, but it was too much. Good night.